So starting with the end or tail of your yarn here, we're going to make what's called a slip knot. Wrap it around your fingers, pull it through the loop, and here's your slip knot. This here is your working yarn. You can pull it to make your loop smaller or bigger. We're going to make the loop about 3 fingers big. It should loosely fit around. We're going to insert the fingers right inside the loop, which is also known as a stitch. Grab our working yarn, pull it through, and we just made another stitch. You want to try to make the stitches about the same size every time. Okay, so we're going to do it again into our second stitch this time. Grab the working yarn, creating a third stitch. So we just created a 1, 2, 3 stitch chain. Going back to the first stitch, we have a top and bottom opening here. We are going to go through the top opening. So insert your fingers through the third stitch, right into the top opening of the first stitch. Grab your working yarn, pull through. We now have 2 stitches around our fingers. We're going to pull that working yarn through the both of them, and we now have a single crochet. With that, we're going to go through the same hole we went through in the beginning and do this 6 more times. It helps to keep your left finger in that hole to make sure you are going through that same hole. So right back into the first opening, pull the working yarn through. We have our 2 stitches, pull the working yarn through, and we just made our second crochet. And we are going to repeat this 4 more times, making sure we go into that same opening. And this is going to create a flower or a round wagon wheel. So now let's count our stitches. So this one here does not count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's make 1 more to make it 6. Okay, now that we made 6, we're gonna grab something to mark our place. I'm just using a paper clip here. Alright, so here's our little wheel. We're gonna start on our next row now. So starting with this top bump in our first stitch, we're gonna pull the working yarn right under there. So grab our working yarn, pull it through both these loops, and we just made a crochet. So we are going to do 2 in 1. Going back into that same stitch, we're going to make another single crochet. Moving on to the next stitch, we're gonna make 2 single crochets. So there's 1. And there's 2. And we're gonna continue this all the way around until we reach our marker. Okay, now that we are done with our last crochet on our second row, we're going to grab our marker and mark our place. So now for this third row, we are going to make a 1 single crochet in this stitch. Okay, so that's 1. Now we're going to move on to the next one, and we are going to do 2 single crochets in this. So there's 1. We're going to do 1 more. And that's 2. On to the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet. And so we're going to continue this pattern of 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet. So 1, 2, 1, all the way around until we reach our marker. Moving on to our third row, this time we're doing 1, 1, 2. So going under that top bump of our first stitch, we're going to pull the working yarn through. So that's 1, on to the next. And that's 1, on to the next. That's 1, 1 more. And that's 2. So this pattern is 1, 1, 2, all the way around. So as you can see, we're creating a larger wheel. This is going to be the base of our bed. Always making sure to mark our place so we know where to end our row. So for the fourth row, it's 3 single crochets. and then 2 single crochets in the 4th stitch. So now I'm going to show you how I connect the next skein of yarn. There are several ways you can do this. This is just how I personally do it. So I'm going to grab a lighter and just light this and melt the 2 together basically. I could show you in another video other ways you can connect the 2 if you don't want to use this toxic way. So I'm just holding and pinching the 2 together until it sticks. It shouldn't rip off when you try to pull it apart. And just like that, you can continue on with your work. So for rows 5 and 6, I repeated the pattern from row 4, which was 1, 1, 1, 2. So you would make a single crochet in the first 3 stitches, and then 2 single crochets in the 4th stitch. So now I'm going to measure my base. It should be about 15 or 16 inches. If you want something larger, you'll just repeat the pattern from row 4 until you reach your desired width. Now we could start building our walls. So instead of going through that top bump of our stitch, we're going to go through the top and the bottom. So going under both bumps, we're going to grab our working yarn through, and we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Doing this moves the yarn up, creating a wall. So as we finish off our rows, you just want to make sure you are still moving your marker to mark where you ended a row. As you can see, it's starting to look more like a bed now. I did 3 or 4 rows of the wall. All this took about 2.5 skeins of yarn. Okay, so to close this off, we're just going to make a knot at the end of the tail here. You could do a double knot if you want as well. That's just to keep it from unraveling. And then you just want to cut off the excess. So we're just going to pull the working yarn through the top bump of our first stitch. Oop, don't mind baby girl's bed head. I'm baby wearing and she's trying to look up at the camera. Okay, so I just pulled the working yarn through the first bump, and you're just gonna pull it and tighten it. Okay, so I just cut the yarn a little bit shorter and made another knot. Cut off the excess, and we are going to just weave this in. Don't worry about seeing the knot because it's unnoticeable since the yarn is so thick. And just like that, we have a cute little plush bed for your pet. Oh, for the bottom yarn that's hanging, you just want to weave that in as well. Also, if you don't want to make one of these beds, I sell them as well. You can check out my Instagram at prettyplush.official. And here's the final look. How cute!